Hey everybody, welcome back to the JoBlo Movie Show Podcast. I'm Paul Shirey, editor-in-chief of JoBlo.com. Joined here with Chris Bumbray and Sean Wist.
Hi everyone.
And today we're going to do things a little differently, and we're actually going to call and talk to Jay Baruchel, the writer-director of Goon, Last of the Enforcers. Now, Jay, you've probably seen him in tons of movies before, Knocked Up, you know his voice from How to Train Your Dragon. He's a great guy and super cool, super funny, and super talented, as it turns out, in the director's chair. So we're going to talk all things Goon, Last of the Enforcers. We're going to talk about his experience on George Miller's Justice League, the superhero movie that never happened, and we'll talk a little bit about How to Train Your Dragon and what's up next for him. So hope you guys enjoy. Sit back and let's chat with Jay. Hello, is this Jay?
It is indeed.
Jay, how you doing? This is Paul Shirey. I'm the editor-in-chief of JoBlo.com. I got Chris Bumbray and Sean Wist also with me on the call.
Hi, gang. How's everyone doing?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Awesome, dude. It's so awesome that you came on. We're super, super stoked that you're here. So, very cool.
Equally stoked to be here.
Awesome. So we thought we'd talk about Goon for a bit, but then we also want to talk about Batman vs Superman with you as well. If that's cool.
I told you it was going to be a big deal. I told you people would want to talk about it.
Yeah, done and done. I can wax poetic about that movie for days.
Nice.
2 out of 3 of us really liked it, so there you go.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we do have one dissenter, so we'll have somebody to balance it out.
No, that's terrific. That's absolutely fine.
You really need that anyway. So.
Well, no, but that's it. Plus, I just say in advance, I have no rebuttals to any of to anything anybody hates about that movie. But anyway, yeah, let's fucking give her.
All right, cool. So, I saw Goon. Chris saw Goon. Chris reviewed it for the site, and I really liked it. I liked the first one a lot. I thought the sequel too was it's a really solid follow-up. It hits all the marks. It hits all the marks of the first one, but it also takes it in another direction, which a totally new direction for GLAAD, and I thought it was
much
really
darker
cool,
direction, I thought. Yeah,
it was darker.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
So I'm curious, for you, what? There's definitely some inspiration in this film in terms of direction. Where does that come from for you? What did you pull from for this?
Okay, so yeah, there's a few movies that are quite in this movie in Last of the Enforcers DNA in a big way. Now, whether or not any of that is obvious to anybody watching is another story completely.
No, it is. Totally
But basically, the kind of the movies that I was trying to get everybody to watch and think on and feel in the pit of their stomach was the Scorsese remake of Cape Fear from 1991.
Oh yeah.
And then October by Sergei Eisenstein, and then also we were all very fortunate to have been making this movie. We started shooting it a few weeks after Fury Road came out. And we were all massive George Miller and Road Warrior in particular fans anyway. But this movie, obviously Fury Road's, it's a bloody masterpiece. And so we studied that movie a great deal, and learned a shitload from it. And I was quite fortunate also to have got to spend 2 weeks with George Miller working on a movie that never happened. About
Justice
10
League.
years
Justice
ago.
League. Sure.
Justice League Mortal.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and let me just say that was if I've been in film school since I was 12, as I keep saying, this was the master course. This was the coolest thing ever. That movie was quite well along in development, and so there was a great deal of artwork and concepts and ideas and previs and costumes, and there was just a ton of stuff to nerd out over. And plus, every day I got to sit across a table from George Miller, and And you know, had that movie happened, actually, I know I'm kind of veering off onto a tangent here, but it's all kind of connected, because had that movie happened, I was only going to be in about a dozen scenes, and I remember they were starting to book housing for all the cast for the sort of duration of the 6 months of the shoot, and I was told that they were going to bring me back and forth, and so I just sort of asked Mr. Miller what he thought of that, and he replied with two things. I want you here the whole time just because I want to keep the cast as a single unit, but he goes, but also more importantly, I want you here the whole time because I know you have an interest in directing, and I want you to shadow me like Mel did on Thunderdome. And I was like, holy Moses, good Lord, that's, yeah, holy fuck, that's the apprenticeship. Yeah, man, that's the apprenticeship of all apprenticeship. Yeah,
yeah, let me apprentice George Miller on a Justice League movie. No problem.
Take some time off.
I think I have some time for that.
Yeah, no kidding. I just I can't stress enough that, you know, Road Warrior was one of the movies that I kind of proactively viewed, I guess. What I mean is, we watched a lot of movies in our household, and sometimes some of them were a bigger deal to my mom and dad than others. And the ones that really meant something to them, they would give me a really cool sort of preamble beforehand and pause the movie throughout to sort of explain things. And Road Warrior was one of those. It was sort of so it's if I've learned anything cool, it started from watching that movie with my mom and dad when I was a kid. And then at 24, I was across the table from Miller. And by the way, it also begs mentioning, the character I was going to play in that movie's first name is fucking Max. So nice. I wasn't
fucking
just
Max.
in...
Wow.
I wasn't just in Sydney working with George Miller. He was referring to me as Max. Of all the first names in the world to have George Miller call you. Yeah, anyway, so...
Start wearing a leather jacket with one of the arms torn off.
So yeah, all of these things kind of inform the heart of Goon 2 in a big way.
Well, I'm glad you said all that, because actually what I noticed with Goon 2, and this is something that Chris and I had talked about too, was that it's very steady. This isn't a shake. I don't think there's a single shaky cam shot. It's very steady. It's a very, I was genuinely impressed with the aesthetic, especially the stuff on the ice. So, I mean, was that a conscious effort? It was no fucking steady cam.
Yeah, it was basically,
or steady shot, or shaky shots, I mean, not steady cam.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. I'm not a fan of. I personally, for my taste, I think handheld has a place, but I don't think it should be the sort of fulcrum or nucleus or principle of the entire aesthetic of anything. Unless you're doing a documentary. And especially now, if for no other reason, then it's just played out, right?
It's like a cheat now. It's they use it as a cheat. It's a lazy cheat.
It's because the cameras come they come out of the factory broadcast and production ready, and so it's kind of what's happened in the visuals in movies and TV, in my opinion, is kind of what happened in electronic music, which was. These synths would come out of the factory, and the presets on them already were of a very high caliber that nobody had to figure out their own sounds. They could just press the button that's already on the thing, and that ended up on records and shit. And so now these cameras come out, and I'm not I don't want to take away from any of the artistry of people that work, with these things, but I guess there's that much less you have to do. There's that much less lighting and staging that's required, and so it's and you get a ton more options in the edit suite, and you can kind of just let the action happen and spray it down, basically, just spray everywhere with these things. And what's happened is every movie and TV show looks like the same thing now. And,
I'm starting to feel that The long unbroken takes are also starting to become kind of a thing now, ever since Birdman and since Cuarón started doing it with Children of Men. It seems every movie that I go see, even Power Rangers, had that, like, a long unbroken take scene where you could tell that they'd used CGI to make it seem that way.
Yeah, and those things also, that begs an interesting question, which is like, how many? What's the point of that stuff?
Exactly.
You know,
that's the main question right there. What is the point? And if you don't have a point, you don't do it. There's no reason.
Yeah, it shouldn't be. There's got to be a better point than being able to do it.
Yeah,
right. Being able to show people that you can pull it off. Like, this is not to say like that there aren't that conceit can't work in awesome ways. I mean, Touch of Evil is like one of the great movies of all time.
Sure.
And I think Russian Ark is pretty incredible as well. But I do also think that there's a bit of show-offiness and that's artists sort of letting their vanity kind of trump whatever the story needs. And the sort of movie language that I was raised on was like, I was always taught that it was called classicist, and I like big, pretty pictures up on a 100-foot high screen. I want my heroes to fill the whole thing. It's got to be The Searchers and Ben-Hur and all that stuff, and like that's the stuff that and River Kwai and all these great things that like influenced my favorite directors in a massive way. And so yeah, there's only 2 handheld shots in all of Goon, 2, and the 2 handheld shots in our movie are both bits of footage from news broadcasts that we were recreating. And so. Okay. So that but aside from that, everything else is either Steadicam just on the dolly itself, locked off, or what kind of helped us a lot is this thing called the Movi. I don't know if you guys know about the Movi stabilizer system, but it's this rig gearhead thing you put on effectively on a handheld camera, but it balances out and it robs the image of the high frequency shakiness from like a handheld thing. So it allows you a kind of Steadicam image without having to have the whole fucking rig from Aliens on you. An
entire IMAX camera setup on the ice.
Yeah, exactly. So what that did was it allowed us to kind of get the best of both worlds. We could see our actors' faces and be right up with them in a way that we couldn't if we had a whole bunch more gear on us. But it wasn't all, shaky like a Vice short film or whatever.
For the benefit of our American readers, Jay, I know Paul and Sean are both Yanks. When is it coming out in the rest of North America?
That's a terrific question. I'll probably get shit for this because I don't think people realize how many cooks there are in a kitchen when it comes to releasing a movie and stuff Absolutely. Like this. But I think United States, United Kingdom and Ireland, Australia, New Zealand, first week of September.
Nice.
Oh, cool. Okay. Nice. Good stuff.
Yeah.
I also wanted to bring up the fight choreography. So that's something I always look for in any movie, especially, that you're looking to see a fight. Quite often you'll see, it's just kind of, it happens, but there's nothing special about it. You're just kind of like, they could have really done something better. But with you guys really, you took your time and you actually added plenty of those like, oh shit moments. That's what I like to call them.
Cool.
When you're like, oh shit.
Cool.
You added the blood, you added the impact, it was all there. Like you felt the fights and they were like awesome. Nicely stylized. So, I just wanted for one, give you kudos. And then two, just kind of like, was there anything that, you were really trying to achieve with that outside of just really giving the oh shit moments, or was there more to it?
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much. That's something we took as seriously as we took anything in making this movie. there's you want to do everything as well as you can, but you also have to kind of triage that, like, if we fail at everything else, what does this have to have?
It has to have blood flying onto the ice and out of people's faces.
It has to, and it has to have, like, the fights have to be wicked, man, because Douse and Bobby killed the fucking fights in the first one. I think
they did a great job.
I think they're amazing. I think Reg cut the hell out of them, and I think that, like, the some of the better fights, like, in movies in the last 10 years, period. Like, I hold those up against a lot of shit that would be kind of called the gold standard in fighting that, comes out of Asia or something. But so how do we fucking fill those tall ass boots that we cobbled ourselves? And so it was, first things first, it's like any scene or any moment, the most important thing to be conscious of when you're going in is where it falls in the story and what it means. And, like, that sounds like a kind of cliche, but, like, that is the most important thing. There's no every once in a while you're allowed little flourishes that are maybe slightly tangential, that don't directly push anything forward, but you have to earn those, and they should be very few and far between. For the most part, every single fucking moment in the thing, I think, should push things forward, and that applies to the fights. And so you have to be aware of where in the story this fight happens, who is involved, and what is the audience's main takeaway from it at the end of it. And then it comes to the fun part, which is watching our fight coordinators, Jean Fournette and his team, come by and show us what they've been working on. My cinematographer, Paul Shirey, and I can sort of figure out, okay, that's that's a cool moment. Oh, that hit looks nice. How do we amplify that? Or sometimes, believe it or not, it's how do I mitigate this? This is coming off too harsh for who's involved and where in the story this is. So, and then this is my favorite. Action is by far my favorite shit to film, and like, I get excited just thinking about it, because we line up the whole company, our entire crew and cast line up, watch the doubles fight it out a few times. We usually run the fight 3-4 times, watch everyone, make sure everyone understands the sort of beginning, middle, and an end, A to Z of it, and then you break that fight itself into 3 acts. And try to give yourselves kind of mile markers for their, to shift the aesthetic. So, for example, like in our mind, the final fight in Goon 2 kind of starts as now a very heightened, widescreeny version of it, but effectively a traditional hockey fight. It is just Anders and Doug exchanging blows. Then there's a point where Doug misses the punch on Anders. Anders dekes it out and comes back with a fucking brutal hammer fist.
Yes.
So that's mile marker 1 for us. That's when we decided that's when we're kicking it up a notch. That's when the stakes are raised. That's when it stops. It goes from being a hockey fight to this sort of superhero, supervillain thing. And so that informs where we put the camera, how Dutch they are, blah, 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 all these different things. The kind of more Sam Raimi-ish stuff starts to happen after that point. And also it gives the crew and so makeup and hair and costumes. So we decide, like, there's no visible shiners or scars or swelling or blood until that point. After that point, that's stage tier 1. Exactly. And then there's yet a third, sort of the second mile marker, after which shit gets where there's even the next stage of makeup and hair and blood and guts and all that stuff. But that's effectively the principle of it. And then the fight really, really comes to life when you're putting it together as you're editing it. What was so cool was, like, and because it's our pride and joy, like, Jason Eisner, my editor, we one of the Canada's great living directors, who's just like just stay tuned, man, guys. He's got such cool shit coming. It's fucking crazy. But we cut the final fight in Goon. That was like one of the first things that we worked on together. That was like one of the things we had this, what we thought was gorgeous footage and awesome performances, and we wanted to put together. And what really helped us was our friend George Chortov, who plays one of the two Russian brothers in the Goon movies, who was himself a stunt performer for about a decade. He has like a real strong background in fighting. When he was 16, he was the under 21 world champion of Filipino stick fighting. And and he literally, like, every once in a while he'll dip his toes back in, like, to that world. Like he gets his ass kicked by Donnie Yen in the last XXX movie and shit. But so he's a very talented performer, stunt performer and fighter. And we cut that scene with him next to us, and it was him that sort of told us, like, listen to the music. There's a music to Punch's Landing. There's a rhythm to it. Every classic good fight scene, you have to hear the music. And so he kind of approached it from this really organic spot that kind of informed the rhythm of things. And so anyway, there's a whole bunch of ingredients that go into making what we think is a good fight.
Awesome.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned the superhero supervillain thing, because I've got to bring you to Batman v Superman. I was really happy to hear that you liked it too, though, because I liked it. Will and I both took a lot of shit for giving it good reviews. And I actually visited the set of Justice League, so it was kind of cool to see that. Although, like I told you, in Montreal, they're toning it down a bit, it seems.
Well, I don't know. We'll see the new trailer on Saturday. I don't know. I think it's coming together. I mean, it's a different kind of film, though, than Batman vs Superman as well. So I think. Well, that's the thing, from a starting off point, I think it's going to be infinitely less heavy, just given the subject matter, like you said. Like, it's not the two strongest good guy voices in the universe fighting each other with one of them dying as a result. Like, it's not going to be that. The stakes are just not going to be as sort of Wagnerian as they are in Batman versus Superman, which is like part of the reason I dig that movie. I didn't love it, obviously, when I saw it in the theater. In fact, I fucking bailed on it at a certain point, because, like, I could see that it was it was just a machine that wasn't functioning the way that it should, and I could feel. You know, it's funny. It's like, so we cut Goon 2 with Jason Eisner and his assistant editor, Andrew Gordon McPherson. He made such a great observation about it when he watched it in the theaters. He goes, I could feel the presence of missing scenes. Yeah,
I could feel
big time.
Yeah,
there's like entire plot points missing out of the theatrical cut that it just doesn't make sense until you see.
No, it makes no sense, and
you're like,
and you
what?
Feel. Yeah, no, and you feel this ghost of the rest of the movie throughout, and so and there's like a bunch of really awesome moments that are awesome unto themselves individually, but it makes no sense altogether. And when you watch the director's cut, and you're like, well, I understand why they cut everything down, because a movie shouldn't be as long as that. Exactly. That one is, but they cut fundamental things that make the movie make fucking way more sense.
Yeah, I actually reviewed the director's cut, and that was one of my main points, was that it all makes sense now. It was almost like you're given the files, like the files have now like been released by the government, so you can see the get all the details. And I was like, oh, okay, now everything in the beginning makes sense, and so many parts come together, and you're
Would
like,
Warner
finally, okay.
Put out a 3-hour movie though? I don't know.
But that's the thing is like, do we need a 3-hour Batman vs Superman?
No,
movie?
That's the sin. No. That's the great sort of fuck up. Yeah. Or sin that they've. If they're guilty of anything, it's that they went ahead, full steam ahead, with a story that required over 3 hours to tell it.
Yeah, and I mean, as big as it is, Batman and Superman fighting, it just doesn't need a 3-hour movie. You want, I mean,
No.
2.5 is pushing it. If you can
Yes,
get it
it
at
is.
2:15, 2:10, or even right at 2,
Yeah.
that should
I'll
be your
take
goal.
90
That should be the
minutes.
mark on the wall.
Oh, 90 minutes. Fury Road, though, was 2 hours, and that was perfect. That was 2 hours exactly.
Of what?
When we were kids, 2 hours was a long movie.
Yeah,
And
Road
yeah,
Warrior
same for me.
5 minutes.
Yeah, and like, well, you know, I think fucking one of those Leslie Nielsen movies, the Spy Hard, I think that, or whatever it's called. That movie's like under 80 minutes. Like, you know, so, and I'm not saying nobody should teach any courses at film school about why Spy Hard is the movie to emulate, but like, but I just like. That was part of it, man. That used to be part of it. You had to fucking figure out how to not just tell an awesome story in an awesome way, but in X amount of time, man. That's part of the magic of movies is you go in the room and you watch the box on, you know, you're in the dark room and you watch the box that the lights come out of, and you get this incredible lifetime experience in 2 hours or under. That's the whole.
In a reasonable amount of time.
Well, now that I just read, the next Fast and Furious is going to be like 3 hours long.
That just, honestly, that
Holy
sounds
shit,
exhausting.
man.
Yeah.
It's just exhausting.
It really does. So when it gets to that point, it reminds me of like one of the movies I'm most proud to be in is a movie called Tropic Thunder that like got a lot of.
I love Tropic Thunder.
Thank you. It has a lot of love. It got a lot of hate too when it came out, and what I remember from one of the worst reviews of that movie is such an awesome way to describe something, which was this guy really didn't like our movie and said it felt like I'd been mugged by a clown for 2 hours, and and so when you get to something like that, like a 3-hour movie that's going to be very sprawling with like I haven't seen the movie. I have no idea if the past 8 Fast and the Furious movies are any indication. They're not going to be tremendously rewarding on any emotional level. There's not going to be any real car stunts or not a ton. There used to be. Now it's all CG kind of nonsense.
The Rock throwing a torpedo.
Yeah.
What? You mean the Rock doesn't really throw a torpedo on the ice?
No, this is going to be
really
the Batman
happen?
v Superman of Fast and
You've
Furious.
just ruined the
Rock
Fast
will
and
kill
Furious
Vin
franchise
Diesel at
for
the
me
end.
forever.
They're going to say family a lot. Family. Family.
It's family.
That's the thing. That's family. That's the most important thing. No, look, people like those movies, so what the fuck do I know? But I just like, I don't know. I think you got to be able to figure out a way to tell your story in a reasonable amount of time. However, I'm always just as like in a super pure movie nerd way. I am happy that there are sort of little measured bits of fucking self-indulgence every once in a while, because it gives us something kind of, I'm going to get a lot of shit for saying this, but it gets us something kind of honest. And when I say honest, that doesn't mean that it's cheap or, money hasn't sullied or anything. It just means this is how this person saw something, and they saw it in their heart, and somebody allowed them to make it. And whether they succeed or not is up to people and to history. But, when that stops being allowed completely, we're all fucked, man.
Yeah. No, I agree. And, I think Zack Snyder really tackled, I think he went all in. He put all his fucking chips on the board for Batman vs. Superman. And, for some it didn't pay off, but I think that, and I totally agree with you in that sense of him he was honest, he absolutely had a vision and a passion, and he made the film I think that he wanted to make, at least in the director's cut. But yeah, it's almost like he got away with something in a way, Yeah,
it reminded me of I kept thinking of what Verhoeven's quote about Starship Troopers was, which is like, that's like the last independent film Hollywood will ever make, or something to that effect. And I was like, holy shit, he is right. Like Verhoeven got away with murder for like a decade, and there's and movies are better for it. and because of it, man. Like thank God for the like Easy Riders, Raging Bulls generation of just like letting people get. I'm not now. I'm not arguing on behalf of multinational financiers routinely throwing $250 million at people's fucking art projects. Like I get why that's a rare thing. But that doesn't change the fact that like it reminded me also in its crazy storytelling, crazy sprawling storytelling. Other thing I want to say about Batman versus Superman. It reminded me of a comic book.
Yeah.
And when you read a trade paperback, that's kind of how it plays out. It's not a graphic novel is one contained object that, should be, streamlined and function as, and obviously a movie should be that. But not every story for me needs to be that. And as a guy that routinely reads trade paperbacks that, have a lot of start-stoppy shit in them. And, it felt to me that it was like unabashed in its nerdiness and in going for how fucking hard it went for what it went for. Mm. And it, in a way, it felt like the closest to reading a comic as any comic movie I'd seen in a very long time.
So given your admiration for Batman v Superman and, of course, your experience with Miller on the Justice League movie that never was, like, what are your feelings about the new film? Do you have any, or are you just waiting to see how it turns out?
Yeah, I pretty much just that. Like, I know that, like, I'm now, actually looking forward to it, which is kind of something cool that I might not have been had I not seen the movie with 3 colons in it, Batman versus Superman, Justice Ultimate Edition. But no, I dig the world that they've created. I sincerely do, and from what I've seen, I think it looks dope. Obviously, there's going to be some eye roll moments for me, but there's eye roll moments in every single big like tentpole franchise movie anyway. Yeah. So I don't really. That. It is. It's damn near impossible. Yeah. But no, I'm psyched about it. It'll obviously be slightly bittersweet. I can't help but compare it to the thing that compare it to a movie that doesn't exist. But
you know what? I think George Miller's Justice League is gonna be like Tim Burton's Superman. It's gonna be like one of those movies you're like, man, Lost can you Project. Just imagine if that had happened? It's like a movie you want on your shelf. Like I just want to go and watch that movie. I want to watch those 2 movies back to back.
I'll say this: I have no idea. Clearly I'm biased. Number one, number 2, I have no idea how this hypothetical movie would have turned out. All I can say is, had they executed the vision that they had intended on doing, it would have been like nothing else, man. It would have like. I don't know if I'm sure the script is out there. People can find it if they want to. But I'll just say, like, the entire kind of brain trust behind Fury Road had been developing this movie. And so, infer from that what you will. But it was like, it was something pretty special, I think. So but it's now become, like you said, one of these kind of weird mystical things that, like, I'm kind of psyched to have gotten to experience it for 2 weeks.
Awesome. Hey, Jay, I have to ask too, really just for my kids' sake as well. Is How to Train Your Dragon 3 still a thing? Is that something still on the horizon, or anything?
Yes.
Pushing with that?
We've already started. I've already done a number of recording sessions for that one.
Nice.
So, it's such a weird, I shouldn't say weird, it's just like it's a different process. It's not the average, obviously, movie process. And so for me, for my end, my involvement is like once every 2 to 4 months, I will work for 2 hours, and and then that happens over the course of 3 years, and then and then before I know it, I'm at Cannes with a movie that people are like, you don't understand. This is like, this movie is the most important thing in the world to me. So it's like I felt like I fell ass backwards into Star Wars. Like so it's really cool. But we're well on the way to doing it. I just they take a lot of time to make, so I don't know when it's coming exactly.
Yeah, just let them know to bring on more Night Furies. Just pass that along, and we want to see Toothless Family. Come on.
I can confirm nor deny anything. I will take your notes to up to the top of DreamWorks Animation.
Much appreciated, sir.
You got it.
Now, let me ask you this, and maybe you can say, maybe you can't. Is this going to be an older Hiccup in this one, or is this like is he still going to be like in the
He's
kind of
70.
Like his earlier years? His younger years, I guess.
Boys, we're getting into some deep shit. No, I am not allowed to say anything. I'm not. This is what I'll say, and I for whatever it's worth, I do swear that this is not just promo nonsense. It's by far the strongest of stories of the three, and it's the movie that the series requires and deserves, and is like the rightful third chapter in it, and or third act, I should say. And I don't think anybody will be disappointed.
Cool.
Nice. I'll take that. There's a red dot on Jay's chest right now through his window. They're like, watch it, Jay. We'll fucking kill you. We've got enough recordings of your voice already.
From fucking all the way from Los Angeles. Somehow they're aiming all the way up to Toronto. They've got me.
There's a SWAT team that sleeps on your roof. They'll just rope in.
Oh, cool.
If you say
I thought that was just raccoons. raccoons.
So, what's next for you, Jay? I mean, honestly, you really show a lot of. I was genuinely impressed with the aesthetic with Goon, and I just enjoyed the movie overall. So, I'm very curious, because Chris and I were talking about it too. Is Jay could be like an action director. So, what's next for you, man? What's on the agenda?
Well, that's my favorite shit in the world to direct. So that's what I want to do. I appreciate you saying so. That's really nice of you. So the kind of bunch of cool stuff on the horizon. One of the things I'm most excited about is I'm starting my adventure, helping to write Captain Canuck, which is
oh nice. Chris, did you hear that?
Finally.
So Chapter House is this real neat comic book company up here in Toronto, and they've been collecting all of the sort of various homegrown Canadian comic book superheroes over the past 100 years who have kind of come and went depending on different outside factors, but they're all there, and they're rebooting them under one shared universe, and with some really talented writers and artists, all who ply their trade in DC and Marvel, but happen to also be Canadians. And I'm co-writing a sort of origin story for Canuck. Canuck's been running for 2 years now, and starting on Free Comic Book Day this May, part one of Captain Canuck Year One comes out, which I co-wrote with Kalman Andrzejowski, who is the main creative mind behind the new Canuck and all the new Chapter House sort of shared universe characters and their looks. Anyway, so real excited about that, and
needs lots of all-dressed Chips and Tim Hortons.
and then trying to get my horror movie going called Random Acts of Violence, which is an adaptation of a graphic novel by Jimmy Palmiotti called Random Acts of Violence. That came out a few years ago, and so hopefully we can get that one up and running soon, and then one of the things that we're all super excited about is we're developing this kind of very, very earnest, straight ahead action thriller kind of thing, sort of like Bullet, French Connection. I'm not comparing it. I'm saying this is what we aspire to be. But is sort of like in Montreal in the years between 1970 and 1976.
No,
so
you got to
it's
talk
like,
to you should talk to my dad. My dad was a cop during that era, and
I was going to ask if that was. I was gonna sincerely. I was like doing research last night, and I saw that surname, and I was going to ask if that was him. That's
yes, William Bumbray. Yeah,
yeah, that's my dad. That's amazing. No, he's literally came up on a list. I don't know if you ever checked out
these guys have no idea what you're talking about. By the way,
I know what you're talking about. We've discussed that before with your dad being a cop.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so there's this awesome blog that's like a pretty good resource for us called Coolopolis, which is like the sort of it's an Anglo underworld history of Montreal kind of thing, and they put a list of best cops ever in Montreal history, and your dad was on there, and I was
send him that link. Oh yeah, I just see it. Wow, we have to send him that link. He's gonna freak out. He's gonna be thrilled.
But yeah, so that thing's called Night Patrol, and we're real excited to Jesse, my writing partner, and I are developing that with Marc-Andre Grandin, who plays Xavier Laflamme in the Goon movie.
He'd be great.
So just trying to keep busy.
Chris, maybe you can play your dad in the movie.
Well, we look alike.
So you heard it here first.
You know, one comic property, if Marvel made, I don't think they could call anybody else, but if they did Alpha Flight, they'd have to call you. That'd be bad if they didn't.
That's nice of you to say. Yeah, there would be a conflict of interest as what's his face is kind of a bit of a ripoff of Captain Canuck.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, in classic Marvel fashion. But no, I flattered all the same. Here's the thing, though. I'll say this: like as much love as I have for Batman versus Superman, my two favorite heroes of all time are both Marvel guys. It's all Punisher and Wolverine for me. Those are my two.
Nice.
Punisher was my guy all throughout all of elementary.
Did you like Logan?
School.
I've read every single Punisher comic made. Every single.
Did you
Did
you like Logan, Jay?
Oh, I adored Logan. I think it's awesome. I think it's awesome.
That's another one of those movies that got away. It felt like it got away with something. Agreed.
It feels like it's from a different era. It does not feel like part of this movement at all. And it was just so beautiful to look at, and funny and interesting and relatable, and like what they get right that so many big action movies get wrong is like personal stakes.
Yeah.
You make it between a contained group of people. You know, it's that awful thing of like the more the people involved and the bigger the stakes, the less impact that will have on the audience member, and so you care about the people that you see right in front of you, and the action. Holy fuck, is the fighting ever good in that movie?
So badass.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I literally like I'm going home to see my mom and stepdad this weekend, and literally the first thing I said, I was like, can I take you to go see Logan?
Nice.
So,
Nice.
Yeah, that's a high rewatch for me. One of my favorites in years.
Absolutely amazing. Hey Jay, it's been awesome chatting with you, man.
It really has been.
Thank you so much.
Goon is
likewise,
out.
Guys.
Goon is out now in Canada, correct? It's still in theaters and all that. So everybody, if you're up in the Great White North, go see Goon, Last of the Enforcers. I know Chris and we both really enjoyed it.
I saw it twice.
Really awesome.
I liked it a lot. My girlfriend really liked it too, actually.
Yeah,
she thought it was great.
It's really cool. So if you're, to our listeners out there, if you like the first Goon, I guarantee you're gonna love this one as well.
Thank you.
And then in US, you guys. You heard it from Jay himself. September. Mark your calendars for Goon, Last of the Enforcers.
Just chill.
Jay, thanks so much.
much.
Thanks so much for coming on, man. Congrats on the film, and man, I can't wait to see what you do next. Honestly, really looking forward to it.
Very kind of you to say, man. I really it means a lot, and thank you so much for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming.
Awesome, Jay. Thanks so much, man.
Take care.
Take care, guys.
All right, that's it for us, the JoBlo Movie Show Podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed our conversation with Jay. Make sure to check out JoBlo.com for all your news, reviews, interviews, and anything else under the sun for your movie nerd news needs. Say that 50 times fast. Again, thanks for joining us, and thank you for your efforts.
Oh my God!
Excuse me.
Are you dying, Paul?
Sean, you're going to have to edit this out. I'm about to have a coffee.
Yeah, trust me, I would edit that the fuck out. Unless you die, then it becomes the In Memoriam Paul Shirey podcast. I'm going to make it myself.
You sound like...
I think if we all make it together.
Or is it?
Oh my God.
Well, no, that's a dolphin or something.
It's also the one from
whale.
Texas Chainsaw.
This isn't from Free Willy. Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Welcome to the sound effects hour.
Yeah.
With the JoBlo
People
team.
like listening to this while they're driving to work and be like, what the fuck? I am Paul Shirey, editor-in-chief of JoBlo.com.
Paul Shirey.
Boom, boom. I'm joined with Chris Bumbray.
Hello.
Chris Bumbray.
And we have Sean Wist, who's doing the monster truck sound effects and whatnot. So Sunday.
This is what you want.
Da-da-da, 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 feeling all right. Ba-do-boo-ba-do-boo. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Don't do it. Don't do it. It'll be in your head. It'll be in your head for weeks. You cannot sing that. You should just play it, Sean, just to fuck with it.
I will have to. I have to.
Just
now.
play it real quick.
Oh, he's so cute, baby Groot. I can't wait until it comes out. No, don't hurt Bumblebee. Guacamole. Go, give me a break. Oh, fuck off, Sean. I hate you. Fuck off. You shithead. Go to hell. Oh, I hate you so much. How dare you? How dare you?
Noise.
Man, I could go for a right now. Serious? Oh.
I just had some. So.
I hope there really is a sound in there. Yo quiero. Well, if you don't look up, you don't see the flag, so I'm a rebel.
Cause you gotta have faith, faith.
Baby!
Oh, baby!
9 out of 10.
My first nude scene, I think, was probably when I saw not one that I performed.
Tell us
but
more
when
about
I saw,
your first nude scene.
yeah, not one that I performed, but that I saw. I think it was probably Pump Up the Volume, that Christian Slater movie with Samantha Mathis when she went topless. I think that was probably the first one. The first time I saw Full Frontal, I think, was probably Rob Roy, though, Liam Neeson. I was really upset when I saw it when he got out of the water, because I was like, oh my God, are they supposed to be that big?
So upset.
No! That's how big they're supposed to be? Oh, no! No!
Chris is gone. We can say what we really feel now.
It's just you and me. We can say, ooh, I heard him leave Skype. Chris is gone. Fuck Chris and his stupid bald head.
Man, all dressed? More like all shit. Am I right?
Fucking bag of milk, Bumbray.
Bag of milk, Bumbray. Bumblefly, Bumbray. Get out
Bumble,
of here.
Bumbray. Fuck you, Chris. You dirtbag. Let's just talk shit. We don't even talk about
That's
Split.
it. That we don't even mention it.
We're not even going to talk about Split.
Chris is not going to listen to this.
Fuck
so
you,
it's
Chris. You
fine.
idiot.
We're good.
Your reviews better be great.
We're taking live calls right now. If you hate Chris, call us.
Call us, but you must speak in a ghost voice, or we will not take your call. Hello, podcast.
None of this makes sense anymore. Chris was the glue holding this fucking podcast together.
But fuck you, Sean. Fuck you,
But
buddy.
fuck who? Fuck you.
Fuck you, buddy.
Fuck who? Fuck you. Daddy's home.
Oh, you just shut the fuck up, James Cameron. They've got long teeth.
Oh, shut up! I'm trying to talk about Marty.
John's ham penis. John's hand. I said John's hand penis.
John's hand penis. Jesus, that is a hell of a penis.
Mel Gibson! I'll kill you all! Mel's back!
And so, if all goes well, we should have Jay Baruchel coming up right now.
Let's do it.
Who?
And there we go. That'd be fucked up. Take it away, Don Johnson.
No, Don! Heartbeat. I'm looking for a heartbeat.
Beating like mine. Looking at me.